conversation. Let's see. Oh.
Here we go again, kids.
Hello.
Hi, Wes. It's us again.
Now did the other dude answer?
He answered the first time before you hung up on him. Yeah. This is good. This is a train wreck before it even happens.
Well, I've never done this in this way though.
You do it as a group chat.
I did.
Select both of them.
Yeah, I did. He's right here, and this is where the other dude was. See, they're both on this call.
They're both on the call.
He's just not on the call yet. So I wonder if I call him again. Okay, now we're calling him live. I never had to do this. Just normally people will call in and then you just add to group. Oh, there he is.
Hello. Okay, I think we got everybody on board now. This has been our the first time we've ever actually had a interview, save for at the very beginning of our podcast a few years ago. So it's been a while.
Well, two people at once.
You would think it would be your life's dream to do two people at once.
You would think, but not two dudes. So
let's
try to.
Sorry, it's not exactly in my wheelhouse either, sir.
Like, if it's going to be two dudes, there's got to be at least a girl somewhere in the mix, like in the room.
Well, forgive me, but last I checked my criteria, but again, not my wheelhouse.
Well, we don't consider you.
Sorry, gentlemen.
All right.
This is how we usually.
This is how we usually are, but I'm gonna move out of the way and let you guys.
It was all about exploring the minds of predators, so I think we probably had some pretty filthy conversations without me.
Oh yeah, you really can't. You can't avoid it. You really can't.
Why don't you come over here? Take a seat. Take a seat right here. Take a seat right here.
So, do you want to start this with our normal intro, or do you just want to just go right into this?
Yeah, like, are you using
a rap? Oh, really? Oh, no, sure. Break my heart, Wes.
Now, do you two know each other, like, outside of this, or is this the first time you guys are talking?
Like, as in us?
We've spoken many times, but we've never met in person.
Oh, so this is like some don't fuck with cat stuff where like they were like communicated a lot over the internet and but never actually like had personal conversation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be where you live, I'll be there this evening. So.
Oh, you want to turn it on?
Yeah, because they can't hear it.
We'll see the score then, Wes.
Yeah.
The war to settle the score. Well, so do I, but that's just a weight issue. I mean, my doctor complains about that all the time. So I honestly, that should be honestly my motto. I come heavy. So my girlfriend says.
Oh. All right. Let me get this started. I'm gonna get this started, and then I'm gonna let you get into it with them, and then I'm gonna go get food. So you're gonna be off on your own for a second.
Oh, that's a switch. Usually these guys like to, shall we say, play ping pong politically, and I often just start playing with my phone. So
I was trying to help her understand that the point of you being here, of her being here, not because you know the subject, but for support. That was.
I'll explain the drama in a minute, guys. We have our own little side drama here. It's like, for God's sake. I was just
saying, like, no, it doesn't matter that you don't know anything about this.
I think I know plenty.
Not you, her. Saying it's not that you. It's the fact that even if you're sitting there, you might catch something that Dawn doesn't and have a question. You know, like one of these guys might say something that because you're in the midst of the interview, you don't catch what she does. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on. What about this?
True.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, but to explain, gentlemen, my co-host, they had a little family tragedy, and she wasn't completely like 100% knowing what was going on with this subject.
That's bullcrap because she followed everything. She followed everything. She follows
politics.
No, she followed everything in the chat the whole time. She knew everything as it was going down when it was going down.
Moving on. Anyway, but she just got back from Florida because her partner's father passed away and all that stuff. And basically, she's just trying to play catch up. And I told her exactly what this special podcast was about. And she's like, well, I'm not too familiar with Chris Hansen and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, if you want to sit it out, you can. But if you want to come on board, that'd be great. And well, I just figured it was easier for her just to recoup from the drive and all that. Are you about ready, sir?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to get started with the intro, and then we're going to swing right into the interview.
Yes. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Let me get something going here. Let me get something going here. Believe me, I want food. I have a taco pizza waiting on me.
He says to the fat kid.
Oh, no, oh my God, you might be sick.
It's time for Rants in Our Pants with Dawn. That's my secret.
Did you turn the speaker on?
Yeah, I'm who's that?
Hi, welcome to a special edition of Rants in Our Pants. Normally, we're a bi-weekly show, and we usually swing into the politics, especially with the heat of everything with the impeachment, the Senate, and all the other bullshit. But this one I wanted to kind of go rogue on. Just to give a little backstory before I introduce our guests today. When we started this podcast, 3 years ago,
Yes.
roughly? We solely focused on politics. And with the current political climate, if you focus solely on that, you're going to go fucking batshit. So after a while, I started looking for different little escapisms to kind of like even it out so I didn't go completely like nuts. And as my intro indicates, completely full-blown Hulk rage angry. So I stumbled around YouTube for a little bit, as one often does when you're looking for escapisms. Found a couple of things, and one I happened to actually accidentally stumble on was the To Catch a Predator files, or Chronicles, I believe it was originally called. And through that, it channeled me into the world of the TCAP community, which basically focused on the original To Catch a Predator TV show hosted by Chris Hansen on Dateline. And after roughly, I would say about, a couple of months, we touched briefly on Chris Hansen's arrest on the show, and everything at that point was just that. We were just talking about, hey, you remember the show and la 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 la. And then the shit hit the fan. Now, we never really talked about it on the show until this point, but it was through the Mr. GG YouTube channel that I stumbled upon the two gentlemen I'm about to engage with right now. One is Wes, and the other is Baked Salmon. Introduce yourselves, gentlemen.
This is Baked Salmon. Hello. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having.
Oh, sorry, this is West Moast.
Yeah, thanks for coming on to our humble little podcast. We, as you can tell, we've never totally really have done this all that much.
It takes time to figure it out. Like, geez. Hi, Baked. Hi, Wes.
I'm honored to be a candidate for your second time.
You are officially in our pants. Congratulations. Rant
away. So just to start, because I want to walk our listeners who really aren't too familiar with all of this, specifically the show to start. How did you both get into this? First, to get into the show itself, and then when you created your channels.
Go ahead, Wes, if you want to. I think we both have a similar start to our tale.
So with me, it was
I have no speaker.
I started watching.
I have no speaker.
What was coming on. I was running IT for a dealership.
It is on. It's powered on, but it's not coming through the board.
The very first.
So I don't know why it's not coming through the
I
speaker.
had all of the episodes downloaded to a hard drive, and
That's what I'm trying to
watch
do.
them. Every 2 or 3 months on that, I would be at work and I would plug that thing in, and people would say like, "You're watching that show again?" And I don't know what it was, but I just I loved it. I thought the whole thing was great. Seeing the guys get arrested, having your favorite, as weird as it is, having your favorite almost predator get busted and thrown on the ground. It was entertainment, and it was a year and a half or so ago. Now I had continued. I would just watch it on my hard drive. I knew nothing about a TCAP community. online, and I was just kind of looking at YouTube, and I looked up To Catch a Predator, and then I found all of this. I had never heard of Hansen versus Predator. I had never heard of any of that. So it was like a whole new world opened up to me, and I started watching Mr. Gigi, and I felt inspired. Like, man, I need to go out there and do some content of my own. So I created a show, a little show, where I was questioning married men.
I figured it out.
Who were trying to pick up my prostitute decoy. And right a day or two before I was ready to launch that channel, I was sued. So that never ended up happening. And I shelved a channel at all. And then about a year later, or I don't know, 8 months later, I came across fake and stuff. And I was like, wow, this sounds like I wrote it. So I contacted him and said, hey, we should collaborate on something. Even though I had no channel, I had nothing. But he reached back out and was like, yeah, okay, well, he'd seen some of my comments before, so I guess that was good enough for him. And that's kind of how him and I, how I baked and got involved. I didn't have my own channel until September of last year.
And you, Bank?
So if I can add to that, I have a series on my channel called Lauren's Diary, which is one of the, I guess, the most famous predator from that show, just based on many factors. But one that people still focus on is Lauren Armstrong, who was busted on that show on his birthday as a 400-page chat log with the decoy that spanned like a month and a half before he went to meet her and instead met Chris Hansen. So I started a series called Lauren's Diary, which kind of follows the days of the chat log. I'm only about 15 chapters in, I think, or 15 days in. But after about like the 6th or 7th one, yes, Wes contacted me and we decided, okay, you could write one of these chapter days. And just like Wes said, when he sent me the script, because I read all the scripts, I do the audio for each of the diaries so that stays consistent. But when I read it, it just blew my mind because every joke and every little bit of snark and everything was just like he had taken it right out of my head. So after that, yeah, we really hit it off and decided to do some other stuff together. We've done videos where we do like a mystery science theater style of analysis while Lauren Armstrong is doing a cooking show because he has his own YouTube channel. And then when stuff started going awry with Chris Hansen's return, we decided to do a fake like Dateline series, which we call Bakeline. And that's how that got started with us focusing on Hansen and subsequently Vince, his former assistant.
Oh, the mad Ewok from the dark side of Endor.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the way, love the Lawrence series because I one time commented, by the way, my original YouTube handle was TechRec.
Okay.
And I one time made the comment, there should be a Vince diary and it would just be copy and pasting of, are you there, God, it's me, Margaret.
Yes, exactly. Good call.
With nothing but typos.
And big boats that can't be proven.
Exactly.
That's a really funny idea.
Get on that, Wes.
Yeah, there you go. You just get a little Ewok just like typing away on a little like iPad or something like that. There you go.
Yeah, well, as long as it has a jingle, that's my only requirement.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you guys got your channels started, established, I do remember when the first live stream went up, I was only kind of like in and out of attention with it because those things were flying way too fast with the questions. But the one thing I noticed that you gentlemen touched on was the sound quality and how often it was ignored by Vince.
Yeah, that stood out to the TCAP community because we had had really heralded the return of Hansen, and it was just really looked like crap. It sounded like crap, and we were blown away. And that's when Wes and I decided to look into who is this media director, that so-called media director, and what are his qualifications? Because it seems like they seem to be lacking.
Big time, big time.
I had spoken with him prior to any of the streams or anything like that. What I found really, really odd, and this was even part of the first baseline, was the fact that they came back without a website. They didn't have a website ready to go when Chris Hansen first came back and started doing the update. And that just seemed really weird to me, because a website, I mean, I could build a website in 6 hours. There should have been a website. So one of the things that Vince admitted to us during our interview with him early on was that if he could do anything over again, it would have been to wait for the launch. And but it was pretty clear that money was needed. And so that's why everything kind of went the route that it went. But once I spoke to Vince and he talked nothing about, it was just a lot of talk about Richard Bay and Jerry Springer and Howard Stern. I saw what his goal was and how he thought himself was like the sidekick to a shock jock, and that just seems so off compared to the way Chris presents himself and how this topic, it's a serious topic, even though To Catch a Predator was entertaining, because these guys weren't going after actual victims. It's still not something that you can just turn into the morning zoo with Chip and Larry and you got horn honks and prank calls.
Right. And it does kind of explain a lot of his, shall we say, background antics with the bag of popcorn and all that.
He's never gonna live that one down. And real quick, the popcorn thing, if you watch that episode, it's clear he's trying to make sure the bag of popcorn is visible on cam.
Mm-hmm.
I think
That's so
yeah, you can see him, and then as soon as he realizes that it's in cam, and someone might have even said something about it in chat, he gets a big smile on his face. And this was the time for him to reach meme status. And I'm sure that's what he wanted. People are gonna be passing this around. Get your popcorn ready with Vince's handsome face. That was a joke.
Yeah, yeah. I mentioned to my girlfriend a long time ago, I'm like, he's got the most punchable face I think I've ever seen next to, it's like, damn.
Really
I agree.
does.
Super smart.
And then when you hear him, not be able to admit to anything right in front of your face, it just makes it even more punchable. So.
Yeah. So let's go into the beginning, because I've been watching, much like you were saying, you're watching that again? My girlfriend will come out of her office and she'll see me on, the TV just going through these videos. She's like, you're watching this again? Research, baby, research. But let's go back. You started the Bakeline series, I believe I had commented in May, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
May 30th was the first episode.
Yeah, the end of May. Yep.
Okay, so walk me through that, like right before you started that. Exactly when were you contacting Vince, or did Vince contact you first about the possibly jumping on board with the whole Hansen versus Predators thing?
So I actually have this timeline. There was a live stream that another CCAP person was doing, and Vince came on, and this was maybe a week after Chris Hansen had announced that he was going to coming back, and Vince was on this live stream talking about how he needed help from the community. And there's some really talented people in the community, content creators, artists, designers, you name it, and they're there. But I noticed right off the bat he needed help with digital marketing. So I threw my name in there and said, hey, reach out to me. I've got a lot of experience, and the person hosting the stream backed me up on it. And Vince contacted me, and we initially spoke on May 13th, and I have all this because of the text messages. We spoke on the phone May 13th, and I got off that phone call and called Big Sam and said, hey, we need to do something about this, because this guy has no idea what he's doing, and this is going to be a disaster. So within 2 weeks of me having that call with Vince, we released the first Bakeline.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, it takes, it probably took that entire 2 weeks for us to make those, by the way, because those were all-nighters for sure making that video. We were just getting started. I had many videos up on my channel at that time, but most of them were very short and didn't take nearly the amount of time that it took us to create the first bake line.
Yeah, I had, I had no channel. The content that Bake Tonight made before that, I would just do audio and he would do all the editing for it. I hadn't done any video editing before. So it was a learning curve for me. And that first bake line is only 22 minutes. I realized yesterday. So I did 11 minutes and he did about 11 minutes, but it took a really long time. So yeah, it was a process, but it was something. Oh, go ahead, Vic.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it wasn't just editing either. It was also researching. I mean, we've decided at the beginning we never wanted to be just overly dramatic. We didn't want to point fingers where they shouldn't be pointed, and we didn't want to say anything that wasn't backed by something that we could show. So that was another thing, is neither of us are seasoned reporters. So that took a lot of time as well.
Yeah.
And you, honestly, gentlemen, you would never know. Because that what drew me in is the way the whole thing was presented. I wasn't kidding when I said, when I wake up and see a new bake line, I'm like an extremely happy camper.
That's awesome.
But
we play off of each other, and also when one of us comes up with an idea that we're going to use, because generally we do our segments separately and then put them together. But I mean, we'll call each other just to say, is this a funny idea, or is this a good idea, or what do you think of this angle? So yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like being in a newsroom at times, because we're just putting our brain together and figuring out what's going to be the most enjoyable for people to watch, because we like that idea that people say a new bake line is out. Nice.
Yeah.
So after that initial bake line, when did you start maybe getting an idea that this was going to get a lot bigger than just, shall we say, a deep dive?
Well, so right after, I mean, within an hour of that bake line coming out, that's when Vince started contacting me, wanting to hire me. He appreciated the feedback. He said he was humbled and honored on the feedback. But if anyone who watched Bake Line #1, the first one, the focus was more so on the comeback on Chris Hansen and not a lot on Vince at all. I mean, I made fun of the website, but how could you not? But we got actually pushback from our community that we were jumping the gun and we were way off base. It was not as well received as maybe we would have thought. Go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say, everybody was so excited to have Hansen back, because that's what the whole community was about, was the show, to catch a predator. And for us to put out a video that was second guessing how he was coming back, it was interesting to see that there was a lot of people that didn't really. It's not that anybody was like vehement about it, but just it wasn't as it was kind of lackluster. And the main point being, give it time. You're not giving Hansen enough time to get it right, which could make sense if you weren't looking at the fact that there was so many glaring errors with the website and such that just looked. We could tell. My background is in graphic design, and Wes is in marketing. We were just the perfect team to look at how everything was and realize there was not a professional behind it. And for other folks, it probably did just look like give it a few weeks, give it a couple months or whatever. But we saw something else in it that others weren't, I guess.
Specifically, in this case, one Mr. Nicotra. So after the initial bake line, you came out with the second one, which now focuses on the little ewok. Is that when he started getting into the? Because I know he was very, shall we say, thin-skinned when it came to certain criticisms from, I believe it was Gus and Eddie. And I don't know if the Mr. Gigi criticisms came out way later. I think it did.
Yeah, later.
But after the second one, where you started pointing the holes in Vince Nicotra's whole, plotting and scheming, if you will, or lack thereof in web design, is that when things started taking the turn?
Yes. Yeah, so that one came out in, I don't remember the exact date for that one. It was June or July. And I expected, when the first one came out, I expected an immediate phone call from Vince because we had done an interview with Vince and Janice to put together Baseline #2. And the whole idea with Baseline was never to make a series. We thought we would put out this one video and that would be it. But then things weren't getting better. They were actually looking worse. The website was worse. Things were worse, and we didn't want to beat a dead horse. So our idea was, hey, let's have an interview with Vince. And if he says the right things, if he tells us like this and this is in progress, this and this is being fixed, then it would make a second baseline unnecessary because by the time it came out, the website could be improved. There could be a new team in place. So we had to interview with them, and then we got off. We were like, yeah, we got to make the second baseline now. And he was that was definitely the turn from my standpoint. It was like a month after that when things really fell apart.
Well, he revealed stuff in the interview that we weren't expecting. He did detail how he first met Hansen and that the whole relationship just spawned from him sending a random message to Hansen on Facebook or something that said, you should have a website. I think that was originally the plan, and it wasn't YouTube necessarily originally. And Hansen called him back. Hansen clearly had tapped out on any professional help that he could find, I guess. And Vincent happened to send him a message at the right moment. And so that was interesting, and we wanted to reveal that. And then additionally, Vince saying, when Hansen went to Vince and said, what about YouTube? And Vince told him, I don't know anything about YouTube. And Hansen allegedly said, well, get on it. So Vince was totally green, and but still, taking charge of Hansen's comeback in a digital realm, and it was really ridiculous. And it showed that he didn't know what he was doing. But at the same time, Vince would constantly say that was what his career was. He was a professional website builder and marketing expert and this and that. And so yeah, the second baseline had to come out, and we really did a deep dive on that one on Vince and looked at all the various companies that he allies himself with online and claims to be. I have a timeline that shows that at most of the time in his professional career, he is like the owner of 5 different businesses. And it just didn't make sense. Something was amiss.
And those, I'm sorry, those 5 businesses, were they the, oh my God, they were all web-based, correct?
Yes.
Now, the one thing that I've often wondered about those, were they legitimate? I mean,
in a word, no.
Big time no.
When I was first starting out in digital marketing back in 2001, I would build a lot of websites that I was going to make a ton of money with in my head. You're new, you don't really know what you're doing, and everything seems like a good idea. And then I would get the website 99% developed and then realize, oh wait, this isn't going to work for this reason, or put it up and get no traction with it and just move on to the next thing. And I can tell that's what that was. It was a lot of different, let's throw this at the wall and see what sticks. And, building a profitable website requires a lot more than just throwing up a website. There needs to be some sort of marketing strategy there. You need to do benchmark testing against other businesses and supply and demand, figure out what's a lot of stuff that he's just not going to do. And so mainly it's websites with copy text from other sites that would get put up, and then he would pay for a press release and expect that to bring in traffic. He also paid for some review that named him one of the top 25 e-commerce developers in the world. And he sent that to me. He was like, yeah, I guess I don't suck as bad as you thought, huh? And I said, what is that? He's like, yeah, Design Rush named me one of the top 25. And I mean, I couldn't name Vince one of the top 25 anything on his blog. So I knew that it was bullshit. And it is. It's a paid. It's one of those places where you pay, and they're going to, you know, like do a nice little write up of you, and they'll rank you in something depending on how much you pay.
Gotcha.
In fact, if you go to Design Rush, which we show in one of the videos, he is on Design Rush, whoever that is, this website, but he's about 16 pages in on a list of 700 other companies. So he's not, it's a misrepresentation.
And real quick to get back to the interview that we did, he contradicted himself a lot during that call. So it's really hard to determine what is fact and what's fiction. He does say that he was reaching out to Chris Hansen, asking him about getting a website, and that he kept bothering him, and that Chris had no intention of doing this. But then when Chris called him, Chris said he'd been looking at quotes from other companies, and he wanted to go with Vince because I presume his quote was much lower, or, you know, free. Just let me be around your vicinity and bask in the glow of Chris Hansen warmth. But whatever it was, he ended up choosing Vince, and he does say that he was told not to be, you know, that he was told, hey, you don't know YouTube, that's fine, learn about it and get me on there. But then, you know, during the New Year's Eve stream, and just to jump to that real quick, he's saying that Chris Hansen should be grateful to him because without him, he never would have gotten on YouTube like it was Vince's idea. So you just never know.
So let's that kind of actually makes a good segue. Because I remember in the whole copyright strike extravaganza, if you will, you guys touched on one fact that when you initially approached Vince and Janice about the initial interview, you gave him a load of questions just to, you know, so he wouldn't be blindsided by anything. He approved a few. When he started doing these copyright strikes, I mean, you of all the people, walk me through this, because again, I came in right at, I would say, the crescendo of all this. Walk me through how all this shit storm started, because it just screams to me like this was done by a man. And again, I'm not entirely sure. I'm still like 70-30, maybe more 80-20, that Hansen definitely knew what the fuck was going on. He just went, fuck it, just, we'll do it live, kind of like mentality. But walk me through this, because it just screams like this was all done by a man with a tiny dick and a thin skin. And he just went after anything and everything, all under the name of and the guise of protecting a brand.
Why don't you touch on the interview questions that you sent real quick before you go to that? Because I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, if I know what you're referring to, the specific question, I think, because a lot of mine got denied, they wouldn't answer a lot of them, but I think most of the questions they didn't want to answer had to do with Janice, and they were trying to downplay her role in the whole project that Hansen had going on. So, but one question in particular that stood out was they had a pay website they put up, the Hansen versus Predators website, that had a subscription, and if you wanted to see all of the new Hansen stings and investigations that were allegedly ongoing, and some of them had already completed and they were in the editing room, if you wanted to see those coming up, which of course a lot of people did, you would pay for the subscription to his website. And we asked Vince what if because Vince had mentioned that Hansen had offers on the table from networks and stuff that he might be going, back to TV. And so, what's that?
He definitely was going back to TV. There was 3 offers on the table. It was just a matter of
right. Right. So, and he said, Chris had gone to Hollywood to speak with executives and stuff. And so we asked, where would that leave the people that had subscribed to the website? Because still at that time and still today, there is no new investigations. And at that time, it said, well, probably, Wes can confirm this. What's going to happen is whoever picks up Hansen will then take over the website, and they'll probably bring me on as the executive producer of the website, and we'll keep that going. And he was making it sound like, you know, everything would be hunky-dory. If Hanson went on to network TV, that there would still be a website to speak of, and there wasn't even one to speak of at that time, so it didn't make any sense.
Okay, so, and this is, again, this is the part where I'm going off of the different videos, the Joey TCAP channel, the Yap Yap, both the Bakeline, yours as well as Wes, when his YouTube channel came up, and Mr. Gigi, of course. But this all started. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, I was going to say I probably didn't get to your point about what was the catalyst of the takedowns, like the channel takedowns.
Okay, go ahead.
And yeah, so there was at that time also Hanson, well, Vince had been loading up Hanson's website with content that other people had made, TCAPists, which, you know, I think if anybody had been approached and said, you know, hey, can we use your video on Hanson's website? People would have been, you know, absolutely happy to have their stuff on his website, but nobody was being asked. It was just being, you know, taken and put onto Chris's website. And people took exception to it, but they were willing to let it slide for a while because, you know, let's see how Hanson's comeback, you know, goes. And at some point, a couple of channels finally had enough because they had paid for the subscription, weren't getting any new information or new videos or new investigations. And people struck back and said, you know, actually, that's my content. That's fair use. It has Hanson's face in it. Oh, well, not only those things, but also people had gone to the trouble of paying for the police interviews of these men that, you know, were publicly available if you wanted to spend whatever the cost is for those DVDs. And Hanson was taking those and putting them on his channel. So stuff like that people had paid for and put in the energy to get, that had nothing to do with Hanson. Those are the people, I believe, that had struck at Hanson first and said, you know, you can't use that, that's mine. And so his channel got a couple strikes. Go ahead, Wes.
It was one person, and this is not disputed by Chris. It was one person who did one strike. And a lot of the anger was that not only were the videos being taken, but the exact description was being copied and pasted. And as we know, if Vince is good at anything, it's some copy and paste.
Yeah, that seems to be his big MO.
Well, I mean, if he had a skill section on his resume, the only thing that should be there is lying and copying and pasting. So the exact descriptions were being taken. People were fed up with this was now, this was July, late July. So people were, hey, you've been back since April. You've been teasing these things since May. Where are these new investigations? Where's 10 seconds of footage to show us? Where's anything? And so things started to boil over, and that is when the first strike was done. And I remember getting up and it just being like a topic, like, oh, Chris Hanson struck back at so-and-so. And I figured, Big Salmon, his channel, it's safe. There's nothing on there that could be considered, that would not be considered fair use, was my assumption.
And
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that's the truly befuddling part. Is it started off, if I remember some of the timeline correctly, it was that initial copyright strike. It was retracted, but then it just seemed like they went on this shitstorm of attacking even channels that no longer really were dedicated to catch a predator. They were going after old content and issuing the strikes.
Up to 400 videos is what I recall. We're struck at that time.
It was 400 plus videos. And if I could just get into the mindset of the TCAPists at this time, and again, I was brand new. I had no channel. I was working with Bake, who also was a small channel. How many subs did you have at the time?
The first time my channel was taken down, I had 200.
So really small channel, really niche stuff. I mean, if we put up a Bakeline and it got 500 views, that was like, oh man, awesome. 500 people are watching our Bakeline. So another reason why I assumed that we would be safe, but one of the first channels they wanted to take down was Fake Sam's channel. And that led me to reach out to Vince via text and tell him like, hey, you guys even took down the interview that we did with you. How does Chris Hansen own an audio interview that Big Sam recorded with you and Janice? That doesn't make any sense. And his response was, if you want to take it up with anyone, take it up with Chris Hansen. And I said, no, I'm going to take it up with the entire team. We've been doing nothing but talking up to this point, but now I'm going to take action. And so that one line is why he doxed me the first time. He said I was threatening him and made him feel unsafe. So he wanted to dox me online. And he says Chris Hansen told him to do it. I don't believe a word of that. And that's, so not only were there 400 plus strikes, but now he's doxing people. And we're all waiting for, Mr. Hansen to step in and say, okay, you're done, and get rid of him and apologize to everyone and reverse everything. And so we waited with bated breath during a live stream where now all the other live streams up until this point have been fluff pieces. Just, hey guys, don't forget to sign up for my website. Let's talk about some old To Catch a Predator stuff. Now he had a real victim, I believe of trafficking or something like that. And we felt like it was, the move was a bit cowardly because he was hiding behind this instead of answering any questions related to what had been going on, he had like someone with a real story to tell. And I mean, the way people behaved in that chat is pretty embarrassing because she was trying to come to court. And all anyone wanted to know about was what Chris was going to do about the strikes and was Vince going to be fired. And at the last 10 minutes or so, Chris addressed the situation, and it was not at all what anyone expected. He backed the strikes up. He said, yeah, I needed to protect the brand. And, someone had mentioned something about sending him information on fair use. And he even says, someone tried to send me information on fair use. I know fair use better than any of them. And pretty surprising, to say the least.
So if he knows, and again, I'm a novice here, with him saying he knows more than anybody about fair use, and also I believe he also said he would fight and defend to the death, basically, people's right to free speech.
Yep.
Not trying to psychoanalyze Chris Hansen, even though, forgive me, I'm a Wolverine. He's a Sparty, so I'm going to be a little biased here regardless. But trying to psychoanalyze, do you think maybe the reason why he kind of gave it a pass is because he, in essence, needed, even if it was a no-talent hack like Vince, do you think it's because he needed somebody that not only worked cheap, but basically would do whatever he wanted him to do?
I think he wanted somebody that would work free, and that's my understanding is Vince is working for clout or working for his resume to say he worked with Chris Hansen. And additionally, I've kind of thought this all along, and I think this makes the most sense to me, is that Vince probably instigated. Vince has, said to people that, anytime someone talks about you, it's a good thing. So whether you do something bad or not. And I think he probably, it was either part of a scheme that he had to create drama and to get eyes on Hansen, or additionally just thought, hey, that's Hansen's property out there because Vince doesn't know any better about fair use or anything. And he probably went to Hansen and said, I think we should take down these channels that have your content. And then people will have to come to your website because all that content will be gone. And Hansen probably said, oh, is it my property? And Vince said, well, yeah, sure it is. Because in Vince's mind, well, it's got his face or somebody's talking about him. And Hansen probably gave it a pass at that point. Is that your understanding, Wes?
I mean, yeah, that would be my understanding, but just to get real quick back to the point of why Vince, I don't agree that it was just because Vince would work for free. because as a journalist who had been to the very tippy top as far as you can get with Dateline NBC and everything that he had done, I believe Chris Hansen could have walked into any college in America with a media program and said, I'm looking for 15 interns, and had so many people raise their hands ready to come and work for him just to learn. Even if he doesn't have the cachet now, even if he burned a lot of bridges, he's still been there. I promise he still has phone numbers and connections to people where he can get your tape could get into the right hands, and he can open some doors for you. So I don't know if he felt like he, almost like you don't want to admit that mistake. You get in that relationship that your friends tell you not to, and very quickly, early on, you realize, oh man, they were right. But you don't want to admit that they were right, so you stick it out longer than you should. It's almost what that seems like to me. Maybe someone who doesn't want to admit mistakes and doesn't want to admit they fouled up, so going to try and make the best of this really bad situation and save face.
Kind of sounds like most of my ex-relationships.
See, you get it.
Yeah. So then after the whole the doxing you said happened in, was that June, August?
July 30th, August 1st.
July 30th, August 1st. Okay, so at the same time, is that when the first time your channel got taken down, Big Salmon?
Yeah, because the doxing was a direct result of so when I reached out to him, because the channel had been taken down, and I said I was going to take it up with the entire Hansen versus Predators team, Vince took that as a threat and told me the FBI, so he doxed me a message and told me the FBI was looking at me.
Which seems kind of a weird thing to say. I mean, I think the FBI has more pressing things to deal with than, calling someone out on their bullshit.
Yeah, I believe so as well.
So Vince, well, let's just say it was Vince, takes down Big Salmon's channel the first time. How long did it take, and what steps were actually taken to get it to go back up? Because I do know there's a lot between the first time, the second time, and now what's going on now.
Actually, I dropped from the call, so I didn't hear the last minute.
Okay, so I actually can answer that. So it wasn't, what ended up happening was Mr. G made a video, and Mr. G was the reason I got into YouTube.
No breaks.
So for him to contact Big Salmon and I and ask us to be a part of a video that he was making and addressing the entire thing, and he really didn't have to. His channel was safe.
I got you muted.
He didn't have to talk about it at all. He had a cordial relationship with Chris Hansen and been on an earlier episode of the show. He stepped up, and we ended up, being a part of this video. The video came out, and not long after that, it was decided that these strikes were going to be removed. And we don't know if it was a direct result of the Mr. GG video or a mix of the Mr. GG video, and maybe YouTube gave some pushback. 400 copyright strikes that they couldn't prove. 90% of them they couldn't prove they own the copyright to any of it. If anything, NBC owned the copyright to the Catch a Predator things that were being claimed. So Vince is, the entire time he's text messaging me, telling me how he is fighting tooth and nail against Chris Hansen to remove these copyright strikes. And basically, I told Chris Hansen this morning, I don't care what he thinks, I'm going to remove these copyright strikes, whether he likes it or not. And he needed to play the hero. And so he messaged me, okay, I just got Joey Teacup's channel back. I was like, great, what about Big Sam? I knew that those fake lines were something that he didn't want out there because it was critical of him. So, and then even when Big Sam's channel was brought back up, the fake lines were not there. And I have the text messages where I'm saying, where's the fake line video?
So wait a minute, did you say that you talked to Chris Hansen this morning? Did I hear that right? Or that morning?
Did I talk to Hansen this morning?
I think he misheard you. When you said...
was he just using a quote?
Yes, he was using a quote.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm going to back out now. I'm going to back out.
Oh, boy. Anyway, go on.
Vince, and then finally, Vic was able to get his entire channel back with the bakelines, and Vince even sent me the text, okay, they're all back. Enjoy making your little content. And then that was kind of the end for a while.
And it did seem that things did die down a little bit. But then all of a sudden, go ahead.
No, please.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it seemed like from where I was sitting on my couch, to me it just seemed like things died down a little bit, but then it just seemed like, for lack of better words, a psychotic symphony. It just was going back on a crescendo, like just like out of nowhere. But then I remembered there was a little thing that was added at the end of one of Mr. Gigi's videos where it said there was a potential for another wave of copyright strikes.
Well, it was at the end of that Mr. Gigi, the teapot off that video. I can never say the word. He did say that if Vince wanted to dispute any of the claims that he had made, that he would show the proof. Is what Mr. Gigi said. And after that, really everything died down. The channels were back, and Chris moved on to other type content. He tried doing some true crime things like the Elisa Lam case and a couple other things, and it was really just floundering. The TCAP people had stopped going to the live streams because there was a lot of anger still left over. There was no apology was ever given. It wasn't acknowledged by Chris at all, and that's what made people really upset. Like, hey, we need to fire Vince, and you need to acknowledge this so that we can move forward, and that wasn't done. So the audience there was a time he made $8 in super chats on one of the live streams, and then the only positive comments were from Nina Compagno, who would later become if she wasn't already, an admin for Chris Hansen's streams. So everyone had moved on. There was nothing being said about Chris Hansen or Vince. We weren't making videos about them anymore. We were done.
Excuse me, I'm mobile as we're doing this, but the one thing I wanted to say about previously about those first round of takedowns and getting my channel back and Vince playing the hero. Even though Vince was trying to say that it was all Hansen, we knew who was doing the actual button pushing or striking. And so everybody was pissed at Vince. And at one point, Vince said to me, "Why are you angry at me? Look at your subscribers. You have more subscribers now." And he was right. I then had 250 subscribers. And he just thought it was all about everybody wanting to make money on YouTube. And everything that we always made, Wes and I, and my content before, was just for the community. We had no notion of, making money on it. So he really did want to be the hero.
Yeah, it almost seemed like he's playing like the old WWE, WWF like storyline.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to either be like the world's biggest heel that has a moment of redemption, and then now we're back to him being a total heel.
In Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Who
also has a punchable face too, to be fair.
I wanted to point out too that Mr. GT following any of that was really cool on his part, because he did come from the TCAP community when he started his channel. That's the content he was making, I believe, initially, if not a little bit later. But he certainly didn't have as many. He'll probably have 1 million subs by the end of the year. But at that time, he was still a smaller channel. But when he was in the TCAP community. But when he came back and made a video about it, nobody else was putting eyes on it. But because that was his roots, he took it upon himself to do a video about it, and a damn good video. And I just wanted to mention that because I really appreciate that he came back and did that, and that he supported us that way.
Yeah, that was a pretty good. I want to call it an episode, if you will, because that one was like what, over 30 minutes long.
Yeah, I think it might have been 9 or 27. It was a good length of time.
Okay, so now let's get to current, because we had the initial wave of copyright strikes, the initial channel takedown, then he took it down again, which was, I believe, during the New Year's Eve stream, correct?
Yeah.
Which
It was certainly on New Year's Eve.
yeah, because that one threw my ass for a loop, because I'm not gonna lie, a little tipsy that night. But I started off watching the stream and then I kind of passed out. And then when I woke up, it said content no longer available. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought this was a 24-hour stream. Did he just stop?
Right. I actually had stepped away and done some reveling myself, and I came back to my channel. It was before midnight, and I was only watching it for about 2 minutes when it went off, and yeah, that was my introduction to my channel being taken down again. So when midnight hit, I wasn't the merry sort. I was pretty depressed.
Yeah, what had happened was about 2 weeks prior to that, someone sent me the links to the YouTube videos that Vincent made about his new web properties, Excess Builder and Postings Live. And I feel like I have a better grasp on Vince's technical know-how or lack thereof than anyone. I mean, just seeing firsthand and knowing quite a bit about website development. I knew that Vince can build anything. And if Vince said he was building something, he was lying. So the intention from the beginning was not, oh, let's check out what Vince built. It was, let's check out Vince's latest live. And so, I mean, it's kind of funny because I have a text message I was looking at them the other day. It took me about 5 minutes to figure out the script for that, the website Access Builder, where you can build your own website. It took about 5 minutes to figure out that was a script. And he was saying, and I verified on the video, he was saying he built this custom in-house. And I actually made a question on his on the video from an alias account asking, was this 100% built in-house? And he verified, yes, this is 100% built in-house by me and my team. I was like, okay, we got him. And ProStreams took a bit longer, but same thing within an hour. I knew that was a script, and I knew that he had stolen all the content from another website and reached out to them, and it just became this whole thing. And even while we're putting together this video, he's saying it's for a niche audience. We never expected it to get outside of the TCAP community. It was really just like a catching up with Vince, haha, look what this moron's doing now. We didn't expect to blow the lid on anything or for it to lead to self-destruction on his part. We even put in a fake commercial for Lauren Armstrong's 50th birthday blowout that he believes he's having. I mean, that's how niche this thing was. So
And you know what? And it was 2 weeks. Excuse me. It was about 2 weeks before New Year's that we started working on the video.
Yeah.
And then about a week before New Year's, apparently, because I didn't know until later, Vince had started to implode by posting memes that people took exception to in this anti-Onision community that Hansen had, immersed himself into. And so after our video came out, a lot of people thought that it was in response to Vince imploding with the memes and stuff, and they thought that we were trying to ride in on that gravy train or something. Do you remember that was?
yeah, I do. Yeah. People were assuming that we had just rushed this video out real quick. What we got accused of more than anything was making a distraction to the Onision investigation. But people don't realize how long it takes to make I think it was a 60-minute video. That's not something you throw together at the last minute, especially with research and everything else. That takes a long time. So it just happened to drop. That video just happened to come out it was like the perfect storm
was swirling around Vince because he'd gone back to the hackers and gone back to making claims. And now people were starting to kind of come out of the woodwork and say, well, I'm a victim, and I reached out to him, and he was inappropriate with me, because before, to say anything bad against Chris Hansen or Vince was to be speaking positively about Onision. So when the video came out, it was 2 a.m. in the morning on New Year's Eve, because we wanted to upload, like we said, to Joshua TV, which was the website Vince had stolen the content from. And we wanted also to upload it to ProStreams Live. And that was a troll move. There's no question about that. And I expected to get contacted by Vince at any point during the day on New Year's Eve. And it never happened. I was pleasantly surprised. And there's a warning in the video because of his history of doxing and because of his history of taking channels down. I told him in the video that this video has a built-in doomsday device, and if you strike this, you want to remove this video, it's just going to pop up in 3 other places. It's the Hydra, and I warned him not to dox me as well, and he didn't pay attention to either of those warnings.
And I gotta say, I love the fact that I think it was one of your more recent videos where you had revealed that you both had won the most viewed video on his ProStreams account.
Yes.
I was dying.
I like to say that, well, because the website didn't launch until December of 2019, and we uploaded our video on December 31st, 2019. We had the most watched video of all of 2019 on ProStreams Live.
With 1 day.
And that had to have been like salt in a wound for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. That really set him off. I know for a fact that was eating away at him for sure.
Okay, so let's go into New Year's Eve and on, because a lot came out between the point where your channel was struck down the second time.
Yes.
And a bunch of, shall we say, revealing tweets started to flow out.
Yeah. Sorry, Big. So I was supposed to go on a live stream with Big Salmon, and we were going to discuss, as far as I knew, we were just going to discuss Vince being a piece of trash. And I'm always up for having that discussion. So, New Year's Eve or not, I wanted to go on the stream, and Big couldn't make it. So it was Yap Yap and I, who had previously been doxxed by Vince back in August. And we were on the stream, and we were telling our story. And all of a sudden, the stream went out. It was just gone. And I got back to what I was doing. Like, I had people over. I didn't want to spend all day talking about Vince. And then someone sent me a text message, LOL, Vince is doxing you again. And I thought, there's no way this moron just listened to us do a live stream about him doxing us, and then is doxing us again. And they sent me a copy of the tweet, and the first one was talking about the loser YouTuber, Baked Salmon, and then my full name, and said that we were racist, a lot of curse words, trash, and then at the end he mentioned, it's funny they talk about lynching, and me, my family would know all about it because I'm African American. So, he calls us racist, and then says some really racist stuff right in the same tweet. And then he removed that one. I thought, okay, well, he got, he thought better of it, and he removed that tweet. And then he followed up with tweets of Yap Yap and I, and calling us alleged hackers. And he made it sound like he didn't know what. So far, all I could determine was he worked in marketing, because that's what he said about me, as if he didn't know me. And that's when I started, I reached out to him immediately to try to call him, and he wouldn't answer the phone. So we had a great text conversation that later became a really cool video of mine.
That was the one where he called you out, so you called him up, correct?
No, that's actually have a receipt.
Oh, okay.
Showed all the receipts, because he went on to a show not long after that, because they wanted to get his side of the story. And he said that the reason why I was so salty and dangerous was because I wanted a job and there was no room on the team for me. And so I'd had it out for him ever since. But I have text messages where back in May, he was trying to hire me and I ignored him because he just told me he was paying for everything out of his own pocket. He can't afford my services. So, you know, there was never anything about saltiness or wanting to be a part of the team or wanting a job. It was just, hey, you're garbage and we want people to know you're garbage.
And prior to that, I know Wes had graciously given Vince a lot of his time with advice on how to correct the website, how to correct the overall comeback of Chris Hansen. And if there's another thing that you could say about Vince is he doesn't like to accept that the work he's done is less than perfect. And so anytime people would give him advice, he would, like with the Gus and Eddie thing, the response is always, well, I was already in the process of doing that.
Either that or, well, Chris wanted it that way. You know,
That thing.
The first placeholder website that looks like, you know, something I made back in 1999. You say, Vince, this looks like garbage. Well, that's how I actually built a beautiful website, but Chris wanted it that way. Hey, why does the Shopify template look like a piece of lined paper? You know, I had a really cool, beautiful shop built, but Chris wanted it that way.
Which, as you pointed out earlier, with the history of Chris Hansen being with Dateline and all that, probably not. No.
No. I don't think he said build me the worst looking thing possible because that's what I want to roll with. I don't think that would be what Chris was saying.
No. Okay, so trying to get into the next thing here, which is the whole, I guess you could call it the anonymous Saga portion of the program. The Eugene, I think it.
Yeah.
Now, this whole I've been saying that the whole thing up to the right before this point was you had a fan base that basically was keeping things alive for Chris Hansen. He hires and aligns himself with somebody who is in way over his head as far as getting, you know, basically Chris back out there. And at the same portion, after he pisses, pardon my French, all over the community that basically, like I said, has been there for him, it seemed like they finally struck gold with the whole Onision thing. And that's where this anonymous guy came into play. Because I
want to point out gold is the key word. Hansen is in debt to the tune of over $1 million, and he absolutely was yearning to find a community that he could get the most money out of. But Wes is the one that's been in touch with Gene, so I won't comment on that because I really don't know.
Well, so Gene showed up out of nowhere on the day before the Onision Knock Knock video released, and that's where Mike Morse and I'm sure it's Vince and Chris Hansen showed up at Onision's house in Big Harbor. And because what happened was a tweet was sent to me by someone saying, hey, look, this hacker says that Chris Hansen is at Onision's house. And I thought, there's no way. And then I saw images of Chris Hansen in front of a house, and that's still up. I mean, I don't know what Onision's house looks like, so I didn't believe any of it. But then this guy was releasing what looked like conversation between himself and Chris Hansen. It was scratchy, you know, really garbage looking mobile phone footage. So I thought, well, this is clearly Vince. Who's trying to pretend that he's this mysterious hacker now to leak information to build excitement about this. And then the next day, Chris Hansen dropped the Knock Knock preview. I think it was like a 1 or 2 minute teaser of him at Onision's house, and the footage was beautiful. I mean, it looked like studio quality compared to what we had seen before. So obviously, someone had been given, you know, this cell phone footage. Well, in the beginning, Gene was presented as just someone who was hacking into things, but the screenshots of conversations with Chris made it. I mean, that wasn't hacked. That was given, or I don't really know. But so there was a lot of speculation about who Gene is. I still have 5 to 10 DMs coming every day on Twitter with someone who knows who Gene is and their shirts, this and this YouTuber. It's pretty crazy, the conspiracy theories out there. But the prevailing one is that it's Vince. I get that one a lot, and there is no way that Gene is Vince.
No spelling errors.
Well, after the racist text came out last weekend, where he was discussing me on New Year's Eve with Chris Hansen, not only so I messaged Vince about it. There was no denial at all. But Vince is a teacher, and something like that getting out, I mean, that could ruin a career. And it matches the language that he used on the live stream of Didi that night about how he was taking things into his own hands. The racial overtones there, and most of his anger wasn't. Even in the message, he's basically like, "Baked salmon and my full name." He doesn't go after baked salmon. He goes after me because not only did we make the video, and part of that video, his excess builder script that he bought for $37, I bought the same script and uploaded it to BS Builder. For baked salmon builder or bullshit. And I made it free, 100% free. He was charging people. I was like, hey, if you want to build one of these stupid websites, these ugly, stupid websites, do it at BS Builder, absolutely free. So there was a lot of trolling. There was a lot of trolling going on. And then we were on a live stream with someone who I didn't know that him and RSN, Real Stream News, had been feuding, and that RSN was possibly going to be the subject of Chris Hansen's next investigation. So when he hears that these two people are on with someone who he's feuding with, and we're discussing him and talking badly about him, that just drove him over the top, and that's why Yap Yap was included in the doxing as well. He thought we were, and that was the narrative, was we were in cahoots with RSN to try and distract people from the Onision investigation, to discredit everything that they were doing so that they couldn't come after RSN when all was said and done.
Which could, I don't think that's fair for that community to try to even assume, because I think it's pretty universal. Everyone is on board that Onision is a twat bag.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what I'm explaining now. I didn't know who Onision was.
Me neither.
Our community, it's very much like high school, where you have your own cliques,
Mm-hmm.
and how do the goths not know what's going on with the jocks, and how do the drama kids not know what's going on with the band guys? And it's because everyone's walking for their. I know nothing about the beauty community. I know what James Charles is that a name?
I think so.
And I'm sure that there are people who wouldn't be able to believe that I don't know so and so who does daily makeup tutorials. I knew nothing about Onision. I had never heard of Real Stream News. I didn't know anything that was going on other than Chris Hansen was talking a lot about Onision, but I didn't know any of the charges against him or any of the accusations against him. So, if Onision would have been like, hey, do you want to come on my show and talk about your experiences with Chris and Vince, probably would have done it because I didn't know anything about him. So that's why that theory is able to float around, because people are like, how do you not know who RSN is? How do you not know the accusations against him? Well, because in our world, none of them have heard of any of these people. When someone sends me a link and Drama and Opinions is using our Bakeline video to make a case against Vince, this is like the first time anyone outside of TCAP had shown any interest in our work and was using our work to prove or use anything. So it was all a big shock, a culture shock, that all of a sudden we were relevant outside of this tiny little community that we had been in, and everyone expected us to come in and just have like an expert knowledge of who people were and who they aligned with and what they've been accused of in the past. It's a lot.
It would be just as ridiculous as us firing back at them. How do you not know who Lauren Armstrong is? Come on. Because Lauren Armstrong's huge in our community, but yeah, they wouldn't know who he is. So there's so many people on that Onision train that we did get, I believe that Wes and I were getting similar messages like on Twitter that, we should know better than to ally ourselves with RSN and this sort of thing. And it's like, people's past. I don't know. Somebody gave us a platform, so we went on a show, and yeah, that whole drama community is really real sketchy for me. I mean, anybody in their community who could be like really popular can say or do one wrong thing, and then bam, cancel them because they said or did something that we don't believe in, or I don't know. It's too much. It is drama.
Yeah, to be fair, I only learned about Onision by scrolling through YouTube one day, and I saw this little, I guess, thumbnail that just showed him in almost like clown makeup. I'm like, okay, what the fuck kind of dumpster fire is this?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the only reason why I eventually found out who he was before all this shit started. But yeah, to me, it just screamed like to have all these communities, granted, some are larger than others, to actually come in and try to accuse basically of a derailment of this investigation, which, judging from the sound of it, only now is starting to slowly gain traction. Because originally they were saying the FBI was already involved, but they weren't.
Right. That was I think Vince at the helm at that time, and Chris, giving him the keys to the car, so to speak, to go out and say that stuff. But then when Mike Morse came on and Vince was ousted, they're continuing that narrative, but more professionally produced.
Yeah, I really feel like Mike Morse was the beginning of the end for Vince, and I'm sure he knew it as soon as this guy came on. This guy's capable, and he probably has, I'm sure he has more resources than Vince has. He has connections, he knows how to get things done. And it seems like he's probably an idea man, and I feel like maybe the apologies that came on Wednesday might have been at the behest of Mike Morse, like, hey, you gotta just behind to kind of come out and make a public appeal. And so, I think that's kind of what happened there. And Vince knew the writing was on the wall, and that might have been part of why he was so unhinged on New Year's Eve, was everything was coming to a head.
Yeah, and the whole thing with the Mike Morse thing, that one kind of hits close home because his law offices really are not that far from where we're located right now.
Yeah.
And, I know from, watching news clips from local news here in Detroit that basically, Mike Morse comes with his own skeletons.
Yeah.
So to say, yeah, he does have the resources at his fingertips, very true. He probably is definitely into damage control because he has to do a lot of it for himself.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing with Vince and, the little release of the special ed clip that he memed on Twitter, then blamed his family and friends. That, don't leave your phone out, folks.
Yeah, don't do that.
But yeah, just to, and you're gonna have to forgive me. This is so much that to take in such a short amount of time. I think I told you in a private message, Wes. I'm like, for something that was just supposed to be something so simple, it just turned into I don't like to equate it to this, but it turned to an even bigger flash fire than anything California or Australia, because it just happened like that.
It was actually, so there's a video that I shelved. It was called a series of unfortunate events. And it was just kind of covering everything from that one simple tweet. Had he just come out and said, you know what, bad judgment, my bad, won't happen again. Then our video comes out a week later, and he ignores it. No, we wouldn't be where we are right now. But he did everything that you could do wrong. He did wrong over that 2 or 3 week period, and it spelled the end for him, and it could have been the end for Chris Hansen on YouTube. If it wasn't, I think if Mike Morse would have been around to help with the damage control and kind of steer things the right way, that might have been the end. And it could all be traced back to one. Really, in the grand scheme of things, not the worst thing I've ever seen. as far as tweets go or offensive. I mean, I didn't think it was that bad, but him lying and the backtracking and blaming other people and blaming hackers just to use the same excuse a week later, it's gonna raise a lot of eyebrows. I did see some messages going like, oh, poor Vince, I can't believe these people won't leave you alone. You're being hacked again. But there are some people who just will believe anything that they're told, which is odd.
And just to swing just slightly away, just ever so slightly. I don't know if you want to touch on what exactly is going on currently with your channel, Baked Salmon, but I did notice over the course of a few days, a few videos were removed, then all the videos were removed. Was he coming after you a third time?
Yes. So he claimed 5 videos, and I don't have nearly the library uploaded to this new channel because after that second strike, I never got my channel back. So I created a new channel and started uploading my old videos to that and creating some new videos. But so initially he struck 5 videos, and because of the time frame that he submitted those claims, they were counted as 1 strike, even though it was 5 videos. And then shortly thereafter, I got a notice that a second strike had been given to me because a single video was also claimed by Vincent Nicotra. And at that point, just in a panic, I just removed everything from my channel. Well, I made it all unlisted, or actually private, so nobody can view them. And I haven't received a third strike. What I have received is when I contacted Vince to tell him that I'd like him to remove those strikes, he directed me to speak with his lawyer, one Francis Nicotra, Esquire. So I actually had a phone conversation yesterday with Francis Nicotra, and much like the intros to our bake lines, it was a long, rambling conversation that ended with me suggesting to her what we were going to do. And I'm having second thoughts about my suggestion today, but in an effort to get him to leave me alone and an effort to get me off that phone conversation, I suggested, why don't you write a contract that he and I sign that I won't make any more videos about Vince, and Vince won't ever touch my channel again. And because that's the thing that worries me the most is even if I sit out these copyright claims, that once I start putting content up again, he'll just strike it again. And so that was my effort to protect myself in the future. One thing, a couple of things that she suggested that are really interesting is that, for one, she said, I really don't know how YouTube and how the copyright claim system works. So that was eye-opening. So I explained to her, to the best of my knowledge, how that system works. She suggested that the contract include a section where I agree that anybody makes a video about Vince, I will strike that video, and which is ridiculous. And I said, no, that's not something I'm going to do. And the second thing was, she said, well, how about this? If anybody makes any comments about Vince under your videos going forward, that you will take out those comments. And again, I'm not going to do that. I said, well, she said, well, what if they're threatening his life or something? I said, well, okay, I'll give there. If somebody's threatening somebody's life in my comment section, I'll remove those. But she's supposed to be working up a contract at this moment. I guess I'm supposed to be getting it on Monday. And I'm not certain now that I feel the same, because I'm hoping to, I don't know, get some support. Maybe at Team YouTube will contact me somehow or something where we can just get Vince removed from YouTube so that I don't have to keep worrying that he's going to claim videos that aren't his. It's really a fouled up system that, I could go on and claim people's videos or whatever. And, why would you do that unless you're just very childish?
Yeah. And
so that's where I stand right now anyways with my channel.
And just to give a little nod to one of your Bakeline videos about copyright strike land.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to get kicked off the bus for this, but you would think after that first initial 400 plus strike, and then he goes and does it again. What is it with YouTube that they let this stuff just seemingly go on? I mean, they came out with that rule about you have to be, make sure you indicate if you're child friendly or not, this, that, the other thing. But yet it almost seems like for the creators itself, they offer literally no protection.
Yeah, it's well, it certainly has to go back to money, because I know Vince tried to strike Mr. Gigi yesterday, tried to strike 2 videos, and YouTube caught it. Gigi posted the message from YouTube that said, "We're just letting you know that this individual tried to strike 2 of your videos, but we believe that they are in the wrong. So as of now, you are safe." That's not a message that I received, and I think it's just because I don't generate any revenue for YouTube, so it makes sense that they're not going to expend much energy to assist me. But I would hope in the bigger picture they would see that was negative for their platform. And a lot of people complain about it. Some great people have been completely taken off the platform for BS like this, and it's just going to encourage other people to make new platforms that will compete. And so I don't know what their thinking is, but I think overall, though, something like Mr. Gigi being struck is probably viewed by a human employee, and when I get struck, it's probably just a computer algorithm or something.
Basically one of the bots.
Yeah. So, I mean, money-wise, I get it. I understand that, but I certainly wish that someone like Gigi talking about Vincent, for example, that would get somebody's attention. And I don't know, I was considering maybe just making a tweet that's at Team YouTube and just inviting everyone to retweet it, and something, based on false copyright claims. Let's all, retweet this message, and hopefully it'll get big enough. And with my main underlying point being to get Vincent banned from YouTube or something, to get eyes on that situation, because as it stands, if I come back up, I have no idea whether he's gonna, strike my channel again just out of bitterness. And that's sketchy because we put a lot of time into the content we make, and we're not making money on it. So I mean, if anything, my home life suffers, my work life suffers, because I'm passionate about making these videos. And then just to have it all taken down, I'm not losing money, but it's very disheartening.
Yeah, I say do it, because I mean, I truly believe, unless he is, and I'm not meaning this in any nefarious way, but unless he's truly gone, I don't think there will be truly any peace. I mean, look what he's doing to Chris Hansen now that he's been spurned by his ex.
Yeah, it's he's not to be trusted. And his sister, of course, was very supportive of him on the phone conversation and saying, poor Vince, he's a father, and he's a victim of Hansen. He reached out to a stranger, and she actually said that. She said, and you know what your parents say about strangers, and that was her reference to him reaching out to Hansen, who he didn't know. And she was really saying, like, Vince is a great guy, and he really wants to help the victims of abuse and stuff, which sounds great, but she's just clearly not clued in, because he's not a great guy.
No, not especially after that video of him cranking up his stereo. God, I have neighbors like that, and I just want to just
Nice.
pound them. So one last little thing before we bounce into the last leg of this. Did you really, Wes, hire protesters?
I did.
I tip my hat off to you, sir. I love that.
I did. And the whole idea was, so actually it was a failed social experiment. I was talking to Baked about it the day before. I put that ad up purposely at the last minute. I did it Thursday night, so I wanted to see how many people would even be interested in protesting for an hour for $25. And I expected to get 5 or 6 people, which is what I wanted. And I had like 30 people. People are still contacting me, even though the date said last week. People are still contacting me about that. And so I wanted 45 minutes of protesting and 15 minutes of interview. And the interview was going to be the goal for me because I was going to have these people who've been marching up and down the streets carrying signs that said things like West Moast, fake line, just free yap yap. And right before I gave them their money, I wanted to record them and say something like, so, you're holding this free yap yap sign. Obviously, you're familiar with the works of Dr. Eugene Yap Yap, avowed racist and neo-Nazi who supports, euthanasia of Asian children. So before I give you your money, can you say, I support Dr. Yap Yap and his Nazi ideals? And really, I just wanted to kind of see the look on their face when they realize what they've been supporting or, just the most horrible thing. And I wanted to see if they would want more money or would they not want the money at all? Would they say it for double the money? I'm a content creator. Baked Salmon, he would say he only put up a small portion of his library on his second channel, but he had over 100 videos. Very few of them were bakeline. I mean, like 6% of what he had done was bakeline. And with me, I'm known because my channel's so small. I'm only known for these investigative things, but I'm like kind of a troll. So I had an opportunity to, because I was going to be at the courthouse and I was going to be there getting footage for another channel. I wanted footage for myself that I could use later. And so that's why the protester thing was done. I never tweeted about it when I was there. I didn't talk about it until someone sent me a video link on like Wednesday or Thursday where it's become this conspiracy theory that Onision was trying to hire protesters and using the Bakeline logo, which that's funny to me. Why wouldn't anyone just assume that it was Bakeline? The Bakeline logo was huge in the ad. Why would they assume that Bakeline was out there trying to hire protesters? So it was Chris bringing it up during that last video on Wednesday. Him and Mike Morse kind of banter back and forth about it. That to me is just a huge win for someone who works in marketing. I spent less than $100 on that stunt, and it's been mentioned in a video that'll get possibly 1 million views. So for me, real good return on investment. If one of those signs would have been a URL to some website where I was trying to sell something, that would be a huge success. But it was a failed. I ended up getting there late because of traffic from Portland. There were 2 car accidents. So I got there late and ended up just taking pictures with my phone of the protest because I thought it was pretty damn funny.
Yeah, I'm like, this is brilliant.
I was just having fun. Those are the types of things that I enjoy doing, and I'm going to replicate the protester thing at another date. Maybe hire protesters and counter protesters and have them yelling and arguing against each other. And no one know what they're even yelling and arguing about. I think that would be really interesting.
If you throw in a tastes great, less filling, maybe.
Oh, I've got to. Yeah, you're absolutely right. These guys think that it tastes great, and these guys think it's less filling. Are you going to let those bastards get away with that? We just let them have at it. Hey, I want to say thank you very much for having me on. I need to hop off right now. I've got something that needs to be finished up here.
All right. It was nice talking with you. I'm really honored that you did want to come on our little podcast. Like I said, we've never really had too many guests before, and as you can tell, my interviewing skills aren't the best in the world. But
well, if you heard my interviews from the courthouse, you would see I think you have great interview skills. So,
well, I appreciate that, sir.
Real quick, the professor Roy Armstrong, he goes by on Twitter. That guy is a real champion for you guys. He's been asking me about doing this for ever since I got on Twitter. Hey, you guys got to get on with Rants in your pants, and so he's a real big supporter. He loves what you guys are doing, and I just want to kind of give him a shout out while we're here.
Yeah, I appreciate the professor. Yeah, the first time I ever tweeted at Vince, like, well, we're waiting for the apology, with the classic clip from Caddyshack, we're waiting. Yeah, I've appreciated everything he's done to promote the show. So I got to give a huge shout out to him, and as well as to his brother Lauren, graduating February 5th. See, you thought I'd forget, didn't you?
Yeah. No, I didn't think you did. How could anyone in the community forget that joyous occasion?
But yeah, you go ahead and get done what you got to get done, and best of luck to you guys in the future. I hope this saga comes to a end peacefully soon. But
Me too.
I'll keep watching, and you guys keep doing what you do.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Can I say one last thing myself?
Oh, go right ahead.
Yeah, I want to point out that Hansen has apologized. At least he's apologized to the let's say the five I guess main people that were affected by him. He didn't address the doxing specifically. He was addressing like channel strikes and everything. And it was there was two things that I've been waiting a long time for, and that was one for Vince to get canned, and two for Hansen to apologize directly to what affected me, which was being have all those copyright strikes. And he did that, and it's so I've gotten both those things, but it's still bittersweet because Vince is still now attacking my channel as Vince Nicotra and not necessarily as Chris Hansen anymore. But it was just kind of a weird situation to have hear Chris Hansen on his show say my channel's name and an apology and still not be able to quite rejoice. It's a very strange feeling. But I did appreciate that as long as it took, Hansen did finally say that he was sorry that those things occurred. So there's something to say about that, I suppose. But I appreciate you having us on the show, and I too hope that this all ends happily at some point. So we'll see how that goes. And I'll be posting it on Twitter, whatever occurs, so you'll be able to see it there.
Alrighty, yeah, and I try to dabble a little bit in social media, a little less, but I do touch base on Twitter at least once a day to see what's going on. So I will definitely keep my eyes peeled.
Cool. Well, have a great day.
Right, thank you, and you have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen. So that brings an end to the interview with Wes, Moast, and Baked Salmon.
You did great. I am so proud of you.
I stammered here and there, but I do what I can.
I mean, you kept that going for an hour and 44 minutes.
I'm a chatterbox?
No, what I'm saying is that you did for a first interview and for your first voyage into something like this, doing it by yourself, you did a great job. I'm giving you a big compliment on a great day.
Well, I appreciate that. And even though we're going to probably cut this just a little short, like I said, this isn't our normal type of show.
Still get paid the same.
Shut up. I still pick me, and never mind. But anyway, I do appreciate everyone that's joined in on the live stream on YouTube. TCAP community, I see y'all out there. I've been trying to read them as we've been going along, but I also wanted to focus on what our two gentlemen today had to say. I do appreciate y'all coming on and joining us. Like I said, normally we are politics / pop culture, but I felt this one was way, way too important. I didn't want to lose momentum waiting another week. Plus, I didn't want to derail anything from our normal topics, because we're going to have a lot to cover next week when it comes to this whole fucking impeachment
we're
bullshit.
doing another show next week.
Yes, we're doing another show next week. Good Lord. You'd think I was taxing you to death, man. But anyway, anything you wanted to touch on before we left? I mean, I know there was a tragedy recently that I know affected you really deeply.
I mean, is this the place to talk about that?
Why not?
I think, well, I'll briefly touch on it, on the death of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
So because I have to talk, I haven't talked really out loud to too many people about this. So Kobe passing, I mean, he was, let's see, how do I start this?
You were so much more vocal in our private chat, and now you're like
because at the time, I mean, you found out, you were taking a nap, like, Jesus Christ, you're sitting there sleeping and the world's on fire, right?
Well, that's my MO.
You go to sleep and wake up and Kobe Bryant's dead. Like, what kind of life do you live, lady?
To be fair, I had an exhausting day. I had rearranged our living room, and it took like hours, and I was just exhausted.
And so, I mean, it was around 11:30 California time, around 2 something around our time, and I was just cleaning the house, and and I flick on Facebook and I see Kobe's dead. That's tragic. And I'm like, Kobe who? Right? Like, Kobe who? Right?
How many people do you know named Kobe?
I mean, Kobe is actually is a common name, you know.
That's said nationally?
I mean, this person could have been talking about a friend named Kobe. So I don't know. Look, I don't know. The one thing I wasn't thinking was Kobe Bryant. Like, no. But I guess to speak to what Kobe meant something to the basketball community, to the basketball culture. So when I say the culture, I mean the basketball culture. And the basketball culture extends all races, all parts of the world, rich, poor, whatever. It was at a time right now where the world is divided over everything. This week has been 5 days of everyone united on one thing. Like I've heard Kobe haters come across the aisle. You know what I'm saying?
I know of at least 3 that said some pretty vile things, but that's okay.
There's always going to be the people that say the vile things, and we can't talk about his story without talking about what happened in Colorado. Like,
right.
We can't ignore the fact that there was a settlement, but he wasn't convicted of anything. I think nobody knows what actually happened. All we know is that there was a settlement that doesn't prove that he was guilty of anything. All they're saying is that she didn't want to go on too more with the story. She dropped the case. He gave her some money. We've heard about nothing ever since. That's the only thing that Kobe has had. Like, he doesn't have DUIs. He doesn't have domestic violence. You know, he has that thing that we may or may not know happened. Right?
Right.
Besides that, he's been a pillar of professionalism, of success, of family. What he was doing was going to take his daughter to a basketball game. You know, so that'd be the equivalent of hearing, you know, Keith died taking his son to baseball practice. It's such an innocent thing. Like, it's the most innocent thing ever. And just the fact that the thing that was really getting me this week was I have 2 boys. And I know I sit up here and I'm a clown on this show and I laugh and I joke. I have 2 boys that I take very, very seriously. Oh, shit. Okay, maybe that was my clown nose being beeped.
Proceed.
But I have 2 boys, and the thought of holding I have a son that's going to be 10 tomorrow, and the thought of having to hold one of them, as I know we are going to die, as we know that was probably happening with Kobe, that he was holding his daughter as he was going to die, and as he knew he was probably going to die, right? Just Kobe was an inspiration. He was a motivator. He was to people inside basketball, outside of basketball. The thing that really gets people is that we watch Kobe grow up. I think that's what it was. We met Kobe in 1996 as an 18-year-old kid. We saw him it's really hard to watch people grow because they're going to stumble. And we watch Kobe stumble, right? We watch Kobe, you know, be the stubborn teenager that all stubborn teenagers are, and this young stubborn adult trying to break away from being a teenager and being recognized as an adult. Kobe Bryant was the bridge for many basketball fans from Jordan to LeBron and beyond. He was there at the forefront of the way the culture, the hip hop culture changed. The way that basketball changed. He was at the forefront of so much stuff. He had been literally like famous half of his life. He was 41 when he passed. He became famous at 18, right? And just the world lost something. And what was remarkable this week is seeing all grown men in a place where emotion is seen as weakness. You've seen a lot of grown men, a lot of professional broadcasters break their professionalism and show that it's okay to cry. And everyone that talked about this on ESPN this week, all their voices cracked. Like every time they talked about this, their voices cracked because you just don't believe it. Like Kobe Bryant was a superhero to us. And I mean, I know there are people that don't understand the emotional level in this because they're not basketball fans or like Kobe was nowhere in their Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that's not necessarily true because when Rowdy Roddy Piper died, I was beside myself because he was my hero.
Right.
I mean, he's the one I looked up to growing up.
And it was a lot like that because Roddy Piper died 24 hours after making a Raw appearance, and it was out of nowhere.
And are you sure you're not mistaking him for Ultimate Warrior?
Also, yeah, it was Ultimate Warrior, but wasn't Rowdy Piper hadn't we been seen with him?
Piper was at I think his last appearance in a wrestling ring was for an independent company, and it wasn't too long after that he passed, but I don't think it was within 24 hours.
Okay, yeah, it was Ultimate Warrior but still, like, I didn't think that this was going to hit me. I thought it was going to hit me like every other celebrity death, where it's like, oh, that sucks, and let's take a moment to reflect on the life of that person. But
I think it's a little different when it's a role model. I mean, if it's somebody you actually looked up to for a long time.
But Kobe wasn't that for me. He wasn't that for me. He wasn't. I was a Kobe fan. Now there was a such thing called the country of Kobestan, and those are Kobe stans.
Okay.
And those are the people who Kobe did no wrong, no matter what. There was nobody that was better than Kobe. Jordan wasn't better than Kobe. LeBron could only hope to be Kobe. And those are the people that live in Kobestan. It wasn't that for me. It was someone who I recognized as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, one of the greatest motivators of all time. Sometimes one of the funniest athletes in the way that he treated his teammates, and with stories like his team was losing games, so he took all the players' shoes that wore his shoes and threw them away and said, "You guys can't wear these because you're soft." Like those kind of funny stories that Kobe had that I sat back and thought about. But then when you look at how the world stood still Sunday into Monday, and it just, no matter who you were, you went into work and you saw someone, and that was probably the first thing you mentioned. Like, damn, Kobe. Like, first thing that was said to me Monday morning was, "I'm surprised you didn't have a Kobe jersey on coming in here." And I'm like, it wasn't that serious for me. But I think someone explained it best. I think someone said it best. One of my favorite characters on my favorite TV show died. And that's what it was. You like basketball, men to men, sports are the soap opera. It's women have their soap opera, their Etsy and their women
Etsy?
Well, yeah, Etsy and what's that other shit that I call Pornhub for women? What's
the Hallmark Channel?
No.
Lifetime?
Help me out. Website.
Oh God.
All the crafts. The women.
Dude, you're asking the wrong woman. I don't follow Etsy.
No, it's not Etsy, but it's another. Come on, help me out, fans. Help me out. What is it?
Does anyone out there watching the live stream right now know what he's talking about?
That all the women love. I'm gonna feel so stupid when I know it.
Pornhub for women. Help us out here.
It's not exactly porn, but it's Kobe.
And I appreciate the compliment. We tried. I don't know. I don't know what Pornhub for women is, other than maybe Lifetime and Hallmark Channel.
No, it's the app website, the app that all the women go to get their recipes and their
all their
recipes.
Martha Stewart?
No, they get their recipes and they get their craft ideas, and it's all these. I don't know.
Pinpoint?
Pinterest.
Okay. Pinpoint. I don't know why I said pinpoint.
Well, if you saying pinpoint, help me pinpoint the Pinterest.
There you go.
Pinterest is Pornhub for women. Because they can just spend hours on there just doing nothing, just like looking.
You know what the sad thing is I get alerts from Pinterest and I have no idea what the hell it is.
So, okay, don't say you're not that kind of woman. Okay?
I'm not, because I don't even open it. I don't even know why I get the alerts.
The point is that for the soap opera for men is sports. We treat it just like a soap opera. We watch it every single day. We go to work and call our friends and text about and go on social media and talk about, ooh, did you hear what this person said about this person? Did you see this fight? Ooh, where do you think this person's going to? Oh, who do you think is going to win this game tonight? You know what I'm saying? And we lost our favorite character. Like we lost one of our favorite polarizing characters. It was somebody that you either loved or you loved to hate. But as of Sunday, everyone was just,
Stunned.
And to make it worse, you think about just that, but then you think his 13-year-old daughter, which
And the other,
seven people.
7 people?
Those people, and you feel bad because yes, those people are mentioned, but we don't know anything about you guys. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know how to mourn you because we didn't know you.
Right. And which is the unfortunate thing. They're kind of the forgotten victim.
They are the forgotten victim, but they're remembered because they were with Kobe. If you want to look at it that way, please don't make me have to go into weird territory.
I'm not going to let you go into weird territory.
So to see how we watched Kobe grow into a man, and then watch Kobe go become a father, and then we saw what kind of father he was, especially with Gigi, and she was supposed to be the next Kobe. And the weird thing was this wasn't like he's pressuring her to become the next Kobe. It wasn't like he's pressuring her to become the next Kobe. She wanted to be the next Kobe. She took on that quote unquote Mamba mentality.
And when you think about the real true tragedy is that the reason why he got the helicopter was because all of the time he was spending away from his family, he figured it would be quicker to get back to his family if he took a helicopter from here to there.
Bullshit. He had a helicopter because he didn't want to sit in LA traffic, and he could.
He mentioned that too, but he also mentioned the simple fact that it was also having to do with wanting to spend as much time with his family as possible.
Like that extra hour ain't doing much for you, homie. Let's chill.
If he's taking his kids on the copter, maybe.
Yeah, and one of the stories that's come out is how him and his wife agreed to never fly at the same time. That could have been really bad, really bad.
Yeah.
Right? And
really.
If it was what was originally being reported, because what was originally being reported was 5 people, and so you think like Kobe and his 4 kids, and just I've been sad all week. I've been sad all week. I don't.
Well.
It's going to be a loss. It's going to be a loss. You hear, grown men crying, like grown men.
You know what the other funny thing is, if you want to say funny? I haven't heard a peep about the Super Bowl tomorrow. It's all been about Kobe.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, sports coverage had to go to that. And as far as the sports coverage, that's kind of been the Band-Aid on all of this. Like saying like, hey, let's take a second to look at this big event going on this week. It's almost like when you're with someone and you're talking about something that makes you so sad that you have to bring something else up to kind of pep up the mood, even though the cloud is still there. Like, it's like, well, let's talk about the Super Bowl. Come on, guys, Super Bowl this week. Like, and it's like, yeah, Chiefs over Niners, Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy G is cute. Look at all the girls.
First girl coach.
Yeah, first girl coach, LGBT, looking to win a Super Bowl. And, Andy Reid's fat.
Well, we're going to wrap things up.
Oh, yeah, we did. Good job,
again,
Dawn.
Thank you. Hopefully next week we can get, we'll definitely get things back on track. But I, again, want to thank all the people that joined us on the live stream. You guys are awesome. I wish I could have read the comments as we were going. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to go through them a little later.
Join us next week.
Yeah,
we actually have fun. Look, if you join us and you do the comments, then we can react as you're going, and then we can all make this a community and make this show super, super fun. Because we did a serious subject today, but this is normally a fun show.
With the politics, it's a fun show.
Well, yes, because we have character and we have we have fun doing the show. Like, it's fun watching. You guys haven't even met the whole show. I'm just a producer. I don't talk like that. I'm just helping.
Yes, he does.
I do.
He does.
I do.
Anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us on our special rants this week. Again, thank you to both Wes Moast and Baked Salmon for joining us and telling us their stories.
One more thing as we get out. The thing I found funniest about all of this is that they were just using their pseudonyms. So it's like, he's like, yeah, so I talked to Baked Potato today, and he said,
Baked Potato?
like, He's like, oh, because they're not using their real names, they're using their pseudonyms.
Because
so it's like,
they don't use their real names.
I know, and it's like that's how you kind of communicate to each other. Like if I talk to someone, if I'm talking about someone on Twitter, I'll use their handle, right? But it's just funny how serious and how like crazy this got, and they're using each other's pseudonyms. It's like.
Anyway, wrapping this up, I've been TechRec71. This has been Gappy New Year.
MKeys 19.
Anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Again, thank you for joining us. I've been Dawn. That's Marquise. Krista will join us again next week. Until then, keep your rants in your pants. See ya.
Was that the guy or the girl that walked in?